Okay, I have to go to the pharmacy. I need to fill this prescription. I'm standing here right now on the street and I can literally see 5 different pharmacies within a 5-second walking distance. Which one do I choose? Coucou! Welcome back to Unintentionally Frenchified, your favorite channel for all things French. If you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do, s'il vous plaît. I am hardcore in love with the French healthcare system. I think it is far more superior to what we have in the US. And I even talked about this point in my video, What the French Do Better. If you haven't seen that video, check it out here. So I just want to get this disclaimer out there because today's video is all about the culture shocks that I've had about the healthcare system in France. Well, I've had a lot of culture shocks and there are many things that make me say, what the frack, France? I still want to make sure everybody's aware that this healthcare system is far better than what we have in the US. So, if you're ready, grab your drink of choice. For me, it's the morning, so it's gonna be some tea. C'est parti. There are pharmacies everywhere in France. Like on every corner of every street, you can see these large green neon cross signs just like begging you to come in and stock up on drugs. When I leave my house, I can see 3 pharmacies from my street. 3! That's more than the 2 boulangeries that I can see from my house. We always joke that France is the country of wine, it's the country of bread, it's the country of cheese, but honestly, it is also the country of pharmacies. Well, I found this incredibly convenient when I moved here, and I still find it very convenient. I am always in sheer awe at the amount of pharmacies. It's like the French need access to prescription drugs at the drop of a hat. Because there's kind of like your neighborhood pharmacy in the same way that you have your neighborhood boulangerie here, the pharmacists really know you. Like back home when I would drive through up to Walgreens and pick up my prescription, I never saw the same person more than once. I didn't actually know them. I didn't share intimate details of my life with them. That is not the case in France. I've been going to the same pharmacy for 5 years and I see the same 2 men who own the pharmacy every single time I'm there. I mean, they ask me how I am, how I'm feeling since the last time I was sick, how Eleanor is, how my husband is, how our family's doing. I mean, we have a very close relationship. I would almost say I'm closer to my pharmacist than I am to my doctor. Which, side note, means that a trip to the pharmacy is never fast because if you're taking that much time to talk to your pharmacist, so is every other person waiting in line. Honestly, I can wait in line for 15 minutes, then I can spend 10 minutes filling the prescription and talking to the pharmacist, and then I leave. 30 minutes at the pharmacy does not surprise me. Sticking to another one related to pharmacies, let's not forget that pharmacies in France only have the right to sell prescription drugs. Now, you'll often have parapharmacies inside pharmacies where they sell things related to the medical field like toothbrushes or sometimes beauty products or lotions or more natural pills and things like that. But like, I can't just drop into my pharmacy, grab a Coke, a bag of Skittles, prescription drugs, and also take some photos of myself. They're not like the one-stop shop that you find in the US. Pharmacies are really there and licensed to sell prescription drugs, and they tend to stick to their expertise. Also, fun fact, there are no pharmacy chains in France. You can only legally have a license to own 1 pharmacy, so no 2 pharmacies are the same. My biggest shocker when I arrived in France was doctors that work out of apartment buildings. Like, we don't have a doctor in our apartment building here, but we easily could have a doctor on the first floor and patients would come in and out of the apartment building. It is completely normal, and that's actually how my general doctor has her practice today. So I walk into the apartment building, I beep, I go up to the first floor, and she's actually changed a 1-bedroom apartment into a waiting room and a consultation room. And that's how she practices. She even has her dog. Compared to the US, where I'm used to this like white, very sterilized environment, I've never seen a dog at the doctor's office unless it was like a service dog. It is just really not the same thing. Now in France, you can absolutely have doctors that work out of clinics, that work out of hospitals, that work in more of this like sterile environment, you could say, or more what you'd be used to coming from the US. But there are also a lot of doctors that work out of apartment buildings. Like a lot. Everything isn't done at the doctor's office. I was so surprised by this when I first came. So I have hypothyroidism, so I get my blood drawn every 6 months in order to check my thyroid levels and see if my medication needs to be increased or decreased. And in the US, I show up to the doctors, the nurse draws my blood, takes some tests, the doctor comes in, tells me the results of my blood being drawn, tells me if my medication needs increased or decreased, we talk, over and done. In France, it's not the same thing. You arrive to the doctor, you ask them about getting a prescription to get your blood drawn for your results, then you have to go make an appointment at a laboratory, take your prescription to the laboratory, get your blood drawn, then wait for the results to be sent to you, then take your results back to your general doctor and discuss if there's anything that needs to be changed. It just seems so inefficient. Like, why can't I just show up and in the same place, just beam, 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 everything's done? And speaking of inefficiency, my absolute favorite are these fabulous paper prescriptions that we have right here. So I never realized how convenient it is in the US that when I needed to fill medication, my doctor would say, well, what pharmacy are you going to fill it at? And I'd say, oh, well, the Walgreens on Kohl's. He'd say, oh, okay. And then he would send it there. He would send it electronically and I would never even see the prescription. I'd go pick up my medication and every month for the refills, I'd just go there and show up and it'd be ready, the medication would be ready. In France, it's not at all the same thing. I get the prescription from my doctor, then I have to take this piece of paper to the pharmacy, then they make a copy of it, then they give it back to me. And so every month when I go to refill the medication, I need to come with this piece of paper. What the frack, France? This is so outdated and such a waste of paper. To be fair, it's getting better. On the Doctor application, you're now able to show up in your pharmacy and email directly the pharmacy your prescription. Then they print it out for you and then they fill it. But of course, if you need a refill like I do all the time, then they give you the piece of paper and say, bring it back next month. And I'm like, great. There is no urgent care in France, and I find this to be a bit bizarre. I didn't care at all when I didn't have a kid, but now that I have a kid, when you don't know what to do and there's no urgent care, you're like, well, do I have to go to the emergency room of a hospital? In the US, you've got your general doctor that you go to for, your appointments, your vaccines, your updates, etc. Then you've got the emergency room for like, I don't know, I cut a finger off and I know that I have an emergency. And then in between you have urgent care where you can't make an appointment, but you show up if maybe you've got the flu, maybe you've got a sore throat, maybe you've got, a fever, you don't know what's wrong, and there are doctors and they'll check you out and then they'll give you medication and you can go back home. But in France, I don't have an urgent care. So I find this really discerning as a mom when I just don't have any idea what's wrong with Eleanor. And I'm like, okay, she's got a fever, she's not feeling well. And then my pediatrician can't slot me in for like a week. And I know that this happens a lot in Paris because there's so many people that doctors usually have a lot of patients, and that normally, if you're maybe in a smaller town, then your pediatrician can move around meetings and appointments to make sure that they can see your kid the day that they're really like sick and you don't know what to do. But in Paris, my doctor's like, well, you're gonna have to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, that feels a little extreme for a fever. All right, guys, that's all I have time for now. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I would love to hear in the comments below what you think about the French healthcare system, the things you love about it, the things you hate about it. I definitely didn't have time to touch on everything. So looking forward to hearing and reading from you guys in the comments below. I hope everybody is having a fabulous holiday season, and I will see you all next week. Bisous.